I believe now what you're seeing on TV is a product of black people not receiving the opportunities that have been denied to them year after year after it is continually promised by politicians that things will change, yet they still have not. And while structural racism does exist, structural racism is a product of subconscious racism. It is a product of somebody thinking that they are better than somebody else based on their skin tone, based on their ethnicity, based on their eye color, hair color, whatever the fuck it may be. Subconscious racism is the root of the problem. And in order to change structural racism, we need to first start with subconscious racism, which means we need to dig deep and we need to make the unconscious conscious, and we need to handle those thoughts that we're having. I think that these thoughts are happening because of a lack of understanding and a lack of education and a lack of connecting the dots and seeing how and why we got to the place that we're at. I believe that everything is a cause and effect relationship, and that things happen as a product of an action or some type of event that happened in the world. There's a book called River Out of Eden, which is, I think it's by this dude named Henry Durant. That's kind of like what's popping in my head right now. I'll have to check. And the book is essentially speaking to how humans have evolved over time and why we're in the situations that we are in. And it starts off saying that we all began in Africa, and there is history and evidence of like archaeological bones rooted deep into African sediment that proves that we all started in Africa, right? Which means we all migrated out of Africa. And what we need to understand about Africa is that it's fucking hot. It's right on the equator, and the sun's beating down. And when it's hot, water evaporates quicker, and it makes it more difficult to drink. Like, you ever been thirsty or dehydrated? Imagine being in Africa, okay? So let's just say you have two groups. You have one group in Africa, and then the second group migrates all the way to Europe, which is what happens, okay? Over time, they migrated to Europe, okay? Now, the group in Africa, because they don't have water, they have to spend more time searching for it or walking to rivers in order to get water so that they don't die, okay? Simultaneously, because they're spending more time out in the sun searching for water, their skin darkens so it can protect themselves from the sun, okay? Now, Europeans live in less hot areas, right? The sun isn't beating down all the time, at least not the way it is in Africa. In London especially, it rains all the time. So they don't have to worry about going out and searching for water. It's literally falling from the sky, okay? So when water is falling from the sky and your basic needs are taken care of and you don't have to worry about the basic shit, you have time to fuck around and do whatever you want. So these dudes started to build technologies that would ensure their survival for a longer period of time, right? Eventually, they build ships. They go to America. They settle in America. They're Americans now. Now, the Africans, who are in dire need of basic necessities, sell the only resource they have, their own people, to the new Americans, right? And they sell it in exchange for basic survival needs. Now, these resources that the Americans use, well, they're slaves, right? They basically bred them to become the biggest, baddest, fastest motherfuckers on the planet so that they can do all types of crazy work for free. You ever wonder why the NBA and the NFL are filled with all black people? That's fucking why. Because of breeding, because of years of genetic breeding. So, now, once again, you have two different groups. You have the African Americans now who are in the field working for their survival underneath the hot sun so their skin darkens. And you have the Southerners living in the house who don't have the sun beating down on them as much, so their skin continues to remain white. Here's the catch, right? People want to survive. It's human nature. It's in our DNA. We are biologically adapted to survive. And survival means essentially going to the place with the best resources. Because we are products of our environment, just like the Africans were when the sun beats down on them and their skin gets darker, or like the Europeans were where it rains a lot and they're able to make more technologies, we become physical representations of the places that we inherit, of the nature that we are in. For the black people, that means when people saw their skin, they think that they came from less fertile, less resourceful areas, which, if you know anything about natural selection, someone is less likely to choose a mate in that environment because it means that their children will have a lower chance of survival. Okay? So immediately what happens when humans subconsciously think in survival terms is we see black people as lesser than because of the situations where they come from. Why is that a problem? That's a problem because when I'm driving in a car in Orange County, people are making assumptions about me without asking me any questions or without giving me a chance to prove any of my capabilities. And when that happens, opportunities and the resources that the black community so desperately needs are withheld from us due to misunderstanding, due to a lack of understanding. You have two different sides. Okay? You have black people who are living in impoverished communities, drug-infested communities, violent communities, communities that lack education. And you're born into that situation. Nobody chose to be born in that situation. And if you have a choice, I'm willing to bet that you would be like, yeah, don't want to be born there. But they exist. And then you have higher socioeconomic communities that are given more resources and given more opportunities. Why? Because they win. Okay? Think about it like this. If I'm a politician or if I'm a business owner and I'm going to make a bet on a team, I'm going to go with the team that's been winning the most games in the past. I'm going to go with the Patriots. I'm going to go with the Warriors when they had Durant. I'm going to go with the Spurs when they ran their dynasty. I'm going to go with the Bulls, etc. I'm not going to pick the fucking Cleveland Browns or the Chicago White Sox. That's just a bad bet. I understand. I get it. The black community is a bad bet. But when that happens and they are not given any opportunities at all, that community continues to sink lower and lower and lower. And while the resources are getting shifted to the higher socioeconomic communities, those communities keep going higher and higher and higher, causing greater and greater and greater separation of wealth, greater and greater separation of education, and decreased ability to move between classes. Now, the more that happens, the angrier motherfuckers get, and the angrier people get, the more violent they get. When they feel like, actually when anybody feels like they're not given any type of opportunity, they think that the only thing that they can do is take opportunities. They resort to violence. They resort to war. The system is designed to keep the winners winning. Unlike the NBA or the NFL, where the losing team gets the best draft pick, in life, The winning team gets the best draft pick. The winning team gets the best resources. The winning company gets the best employees. The best students go to the best schools. And the cycle continues on and on and on at the detriment of the people on the lowest bottoms of the rungs, which happen to be black people. Okay? So to my white friends, I get it. We spent hours and hours studying for tests that we didn't want to take so we can get grades that nobody else got, so that we can get into schools that nobody else got into, so that we can sit behind computers, type numbers into a spreadsheet, or spend hours reading legal documents or examining people's bodies so we can make $400,000 a year, drive around in Bentleys, vacation on some remote island to swim with some domesticated fucking dolphins. That shit is dope. I like that shit too. I like that shit a lot less though when the unemployment rate's 40%. I like that shit a lot less when people can't feed their kids. I like that shit a lot less when there are people getting killed in the streets by the dudes we hired to protect us. That's a fucking problem. And if you can't see that problem, then you're the fucking problem. I don't need you to post on social media saying that you stand with me. I don't need you to say that Black Lives Matter. All those things are great if you want to do it. I just need you to understand. Understand that we were dealt a great hand in life. That we were blessed and have an abundance of opportunities. But also, and more importantly, understand that others were not blessed with that opportunity. Understand that others are in a bad situation and all they want is a shot. All they want is a chance to prove themselves. Some people will always ask for handouts. That's true. Bar none. There's always people who are going to ask for handouts, always people who are going to do less, always people who aren't going to do their job, right? But a lot of people, they just want an opportunity. They just want a chance to prove themselves. An opportunity to grow, an opportunity to build their community so that their children can have a seat at the table, so that they can have an opportunity that doesn't require them to be a gladiator or the court jester. The Africans aren't living in a scorching desert anymore, but they're still dying of thirst. To my black friends, they are killing us in the street like animals. So our response is to behave like animals, validating their injustice. I'm fucking confused. Are we so tired of being called a monster that we decided to become the very monster they told us we were? The reason Dr. King made so much progress is because he protested the right way. He used the media to his advantage. He showed the injustices of the police force for the entire world to see. He put it on full display. They threw food at us in restaurants and poured boiling water and salt in our eyes. Yet we didn't respond. They showered us with fire hoses in the streets like dogs. Yet we didn't respond. That forced the entire world to take a hard look at itself in the mirror. And when we look back on history, we know who the animals are. But now, our reflection is muddied. I saw on TV a group of black men looting a smoke shop. Why the fuck are we looting Julio's smoke shop? I doubt that George Floyd would want that. I doubt what he wanted written on his tombstone was, "Avenge me by robbing Julio's smoke shop." Fucking Julio's smoke shop. I went to Alberto Tacos the other day and got 2 crispy chicken tacos, a double beans, and a full bag of chips for $7.99. We ain't got no fucking problem with the Mexicans. So why are we fucking up Julio's smoke shop? What are we doing? We look like fucking idiots. We're destroying our own communities. And what's worse is the entire world is watching. And so are our sons and daughters. We need a culture shift. Name me a black person in our community besides Barrio who we idolize that doesn't dribble a ball or sing. Show me a time when a black man in a courtroom wasn't in handcuffs. Show me a black doctor on TV who isn't selling prescriptions from the sidewalk. You want to know why Bryan Stevenson was the illest? Because he made a difference from within the system. He played by the fucking rules, their fucking rules, and he won. We need more black people like that. We need more black leaders like that. We don't need any more Lil Uzis. We need a better education, not more Louis V t-shirts. We need better leaders.